Wow, what'd you think about that? Just like Hollywood, huh? Yeah, good. So, as Mrs. Bahlau said, my name is Cody Bahlau. I'm your teacher's brother. I work for a university called Columbia University out of New York City, and I work on their research vessel, which is called the Marcus G. Langseth. So right now we're south of Mexico. So let's see where we're at. Hold on. First off, do you guys recognize this? Hopefully, yeah. So this is your school. So this is the garden outside with the picnic tables and the fountain. So we're going to zoom out. So let's see. We'll zoom out. Boop, boop, boop. So here we see Grass Lake. We keep going. We see Michigan. We see Lake Michigan. We see Lake Huron, Erie, Ontario. So we keep going. Now we see the United States. Now we're all the way down here. All the way down. So this is Mexico right here. And we zoom in. And this is where I'm at right now on the Marcus G. Langseth. And we're doing some scientific studies over this area right here, which in a little bit we'll talk about in some more detail. So what we're doing is we have these different lines. So we have the red lines, the green lines, and the blue lines, and we're acquiring data over these lines. So what does acquire mean? Acquire means is we have a specific objective that we want to sail down these lines with the vessel, with the boat, and we want to get scientific data, observe some different findings that we see in the water and below the water on the seafloor. So that's what we're doing right now. We're doing a couple different things here. We're doing a geophysical study. So we're using a technology that's called seismic to make an image or a picture of the rocks below the seafloor. And with this picture, we can look at different scientific things with regards to the world. So what do you guys think? With this picture of the rocks below the ocean, what do you think we can use that for? What's your guess?
Any guesses? I think you now.
I think you could use it to like see where ships could sail and if they wouldn't hit rocks.
Yes. Yeah, exactly right. Yep. Yeah. So we have a couple different things we're doing here. So we have seismic, which looks at the rocks below the surface of the ocean. So below all the way at the bottom, we can look at the structure of how that looks. But what you're saying is we have another technology on board that's called a sonar system, a multi-beam sonar. And with that, we can make a map of the topography of the bottom. So let's have a look. So everybody sees the map here. So we come down here. So does everybody see this fuzzy stuff at the bottom? You see where it's fuzzy? You can't really see it very well. Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the bottom of the ocean here hasn't been mapped in high detail, in high definition. We use satellite data to sort of give us a best guess of what the bottom of the ocean looks like, but it's never actually been mapped. Whereas we're up here, you see the light blue area. So this is data that we've mapped on board right now. So besides myself, the scientist on board, and your classroom, you're the only people in the world who have seen this new scientific data come in. So there's only, I don't know how many people in the class, 20 different people. So just think, so you're real life ocean explorers looking at data for the first time. That's pretty neat, isn't it?
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So another thing that we do is we can look at, so this picture that we're looking at here, this is called the seismic data. So it's a little bit hard to visualize, but does everybody see sort of the three peaks in the center, the dark red sort of peaks in the center? Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Yeah, so those are volcanoes that we just mapped. So where are those at? They're right here. So let me zoom in. Let's go back to Google Earth. So do you see this big bump right here? This bump and this bump? Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are these underwater volcanoes. Now, what we're looking at here isn't a top-down view, but we're looking at it from the side. So if you take a cake and you cut the cake, let me pull up here, and you cut the cake in half and you look at the cake from the side, you can see the different layers of frosting, maybe some sprinkles in there. Does everybody know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're doing the same thing with the rocks below the ocean, we can take a cut and we can look at it from the side and see all the different layers the rocks make. So let's look at another picture, and I think maybe you'll see it a little bit better. Let me find this picture. Here it is. So let's look at this. So this is the same thing, but so we're looking at rocks here. So on the right-hand side, you can see sort of the mountains or the peak. So that's the North American plate. What type of plates are there? You guys just studied plate tectonics. Can you tell me the different types of plates?
Brisky? 2 seconds.
Major and
No, 2 types of crust.
oceanic and continental.
Yep, yeah, oceanic and continental. So here we have the North American, and then we have the Juan de Fuca plate. So we have oceanic, which is the flat, and the sort of the mountainous that you can kind of see here is the continental. So you see on the oceanic, you can see sort of the layers, almost like a layer of a cake. Well, that's the sediment layers that settle down on the bottom of the ocean over time. And with the seismic data, we can make an image. Yeah.
Chief Officer Cody, can you flip that picture back up? I want to quiz him.
Okay, let's come back to it. Hold on. Go ahead.
So at the subduction zone, the oceanic plate is going underneath. Why? Why does that one go under? Let's go, Addie.
Because it's denser.
Why is it dense? What type of rock is it made up of?
Igneous.
Igneous, volcanic rock. All right, it's heavier. Thank you. Sorry, had to quiz him.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You guys doing a great job. That's a good answer. So with the layers, we can make an image of the rocks, and we can look at sort of plate tectonics and plate tectonic boundaries. So we can add a layer here. So let's zoom out. So we can see the different plates. So does anybody remember what type of boundaries we have? What type of plate boundaries?
3 types of plate boundaries. Let's go, Jack.
We have divergent, transform, and convert.
Convergent.
Yeah, that's right.
Convergent.
Yeah, Jack. Was it Jack?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack,
Yeah.
that's a good job. Exactly right. So as we see here in the picture, we have 3 different types just within this picture. We have the blue, which is convergent. We have the green, which is divergent, and we have red, which is transform. So where we're working right now is a big convergent plate boundary. So we have one plate going under another. Where's a good example of a divergent plate? I know you guys have studied it lately. Where's a good example?
You can see it right there. What's it called? Does anyone happen to remember what it's called? No, maybe.
So what ocean is this?
Anyone, everyone can say it. What? Atlantic. The mid-oceanic ridge. But yeah, close. Atlantic.
Yeah. So it's the mid-oceanic ridge in the Atlantic. So it's the Atlantic ridge, and it runs all the way from Iceland all the way down. So, but you see, so we have a divergent, but also in places we have the transform fault as well. So down here by the equator, this is a big transform fault. So another example of a transform fault is in California, the San Andreas Fault. So here in California, that goes by Los Angeles, this is a big example of a transform fault here. Yeah. So good.
What's a natural disaster that can occur there at a transform boundary? Everybody?
Earthquake.
Yeah. And that's one of the things when we're looking at the seismic data, that's one of the things that the scientists are trying to understand. Why some faults produce earthquakes, why other places you have volcanoes, and with the image of the rocks below the ocean, they can sort of look to sort of understand our planet better and understand earthquake zones and volcanoes and how they're formed and things like that. I even have a little video. Let's watch this little video on volcanoes. Hold on one second here. Here it is. Here we go. So it's just a very simple video that we see here about volcanoes. So we have the magma, which reaches the surface, and when it comes to surface, then it's called lava. Does everybody know what magma is?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it's extremely hot and heated rock, right? And then when it comes to the surface, it then melts, or sorry, it then solidifies and forms rock. So what type of rock is this? Is this igneous? Is this sedimentary?
It is igneous, volcanic rock. Yeah. We're getting into rock cycle next week.
Oh, okay. Oh, so hopefully you're learning a little bit about next week's quiz. So let's click off this. Yeah, good. So that's some of the things that we look at on board the boat. So I talked about the boat already a little bit. It's for Columbia University. So let's take a little flyover so you can see what I'm talking about here when we start to talk it a little bit more in detail. Hold on one second. Here we go. Ready? So here's a video. This is a drone video of the vessel, of the boat. So we have these weird names offshore that we use when we talk about nautical terms. So the back of the boat is called the stern. So here we're coming up to the right-hand side now, and the right-hand side is called the starboard side. So here's the starboard. And as we come around the starboard side, does everybody see that sort of that big gray square in the center? That's called the A-frame. And above that is a big tower. That's the PSO tower, or Protected Species Observers. So we have biologists that work up there, and I'll talk a little bit more about them later. So now we're coming to the front of the boat. This is called the bow. And beneath that big blue stripe, there's you can see some windows, and that's where the captain works up there, and he drives the boat with his team. Now we're coming on the port side, or the left side of the boat is called the port. We have two small other little boats there that we can deploy, and we can do other types of scientific instruments offshore. Now we're coming back to the stern, and we see all this cables that you can see behind us that we've deployed into the water. So what does deploy mean? I've said it a couple times. So deploy means when we put scientific equipment into the ocean, whether it's a big long cable or whether it's equipment that we send to the bottom that sits on the bottom and listens to different type of noises the earth makes. So the cable that we can deploy is 9 miles long that we drag behind us as we steer through the ocean. So what's 9 miles? So 9 miles is the length from Grass Lake, where you guys are at, to Brooklyn. So let's look at that on the map. Oh, hold on. Let's zoom out. Come back to Michigan. So we're going to come into Grass Lake. Here's Grass Lake. So where's Brooklyn? There's Napoleon, Brooklyn. So let's measure. So this is what Google Earth is fantastic for. So we put it on Grass Lake all the way down to Brooklyn. So it's just about 9 miles long. And that's the length of the cable that we tow or we drag in the water behind us as we go on these different lines. So let's see. So what else is on board the boat? So if you had to live on board a boat for 40 days with 44 people. So how many people are in your class right now? How many?
About 23.
So 23. So if you took your class plus Miss Bayla, what was that class before?
Miss Blackwood's class.
So if you took your class right now and Miss Laughlin's class and you combine them together, and then you had to live on board a boat. So just imagine your school. If you had to live just in your wing that your classes are on right now for 40 days with your class and Miss Laughlin's class, boy, that would be quite a bit, wouldn't it? So what do you think that you'd want to have with you on board the boat? Can anybody take a guess?
Anything? Throw the ball to Andrew behind you. What things would you want on ship?
Food and water, so that way I don't starve or dehydrate to death.
Yeah, exactly right. Food and water. That's a good one. So remember I said that we have sort of these different words we use on board the boat. So one of them, for example, would be called the mess room. The mess room is like your cafeteria. It's where we're going to eat our food. So this is what our cafeteria looks like on board the boat. Obviously, it's a lot smaller than what you guys have, but this is where we come and eat. And when we're on board, we work 24 hours a day. So there's someone always up, always working. So we come in here and we have orange juice, we have pancake. Last night we had pizza for dinner. So that's all that we have in here. And where they cook the food is called the galley. So let's have a look at that. Here. So this is the galley, or what you would call the kitchen. So this is where we have 2 cooks on board, and this is where they cook the food. So what else do you think that we need to have on board the boat? What would you like to see?
Susie.
A toothbrush and toothpaste.
Yeah. So you're gonna have your toothbrush, your toothpaste. You're gonna have things for your bedroom, but on board the boat we call it a cabin, and you have to share with people. So let's have a look at a cabin. So here's a good example. So this is where the scientists stay when they're on board. So you see, it's a very small cabin, and in this cabin there are 3 beds. So there's a bunk bed and there's a single bed that you can see against the far wall. So everybody has to share on board a boat because we don't have that much space. So just like in your classroom, you have to respect other people. So at night, when you guys leave the classroom, you don't leave all your work on your desk or your markers. You put everything away, right? Everybody does that?
Yeah, could you, absolutely, in this class, could you flip back to that picture and explain to them why, like, looking at the bunk bed against the wall, there's like a little lip?
Yeah. So why? So does everybody see the bed at the below the windows on the far wall? Does everybody see that? Yeah. So why do you think we would need a lip like that by the mattress? Why do you think we have that?
Oh. Little delay. Yeah, that's right. 2 seconds, go ahead.
So that you don't fall off the bed.
Yeah, that's right. So because the boat moves quite a bit, we have a lip by the beds so you don't roll off your bed and fall onto the ground. So it would be kind of funny if you had the bottom bunk, but just imagine if you had the top bunk here and you fell out. That wouldn't be too funny. So on all of our spaces, on all the tables, the workbenches. So let's look at this desk in the front. So who's this with the Under Armour t-shirt? Who am I looking at here?
Carter.
Yeah, hello, Carter. So Carter, can you point at your desk for me?
Point at your desk.
Yeah. So you see the desk there, there's no lip around the side. So on the boat, we have a little raised piece of wood that keeps anything that from rolling off the table. And does everybody see their water bottles on the table? Everybody has their water bottles. So when you're working on a research boat, so sometimes you can't just have your water bottles sitting on the table like that because they'll completely fall off when we have bad seas. Now, right now, it's very nice outside. The seas are very calm. But let's look at a time when sometimes the seas aren't very calm. Let's look at this. Are you ready for this video?
All hands, hoist the colors high. Heave ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we die.
I watched that one.
So what do you think? If you had your water bottles on that table, do you think they'd fall off or stay there? Yeah, they'd fall off. So everything that we do on board the boat, we have to make sure that it's secured or tied down, or we have Velcro, or we have rubber mats where things don't slide. So that's one of the things that we do when we're on board to make sure that everything is secure for when we have bad seas like that. So that's a good question. So, okay, that's the cabin. What else do you think we need on board? What would you like to see?
Kenzie.
Maybe some entertainment.
Some entertainment, exactly. So we have a small movie room on board that has a TV. We have Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu and games. we have PlayStation, we have Monopoly, a couple of guitars. So when the crew, when they're not working, they can go into the TV room and they can relax. They can play some games. But I mean, you guys probably don't like to play games, so you probably wouldn't do that, would you?
Pretty
Oh,
exciting.
okay, yeah. So that's some of the things that crew can do. So let's look at a few others. So we have a small library on board that the crew can come and read books. We have a small gym on board that with a treadmill and weights, and we have we have a rowing machine. We have some hammocks outside that we put up, and the people can sway back and forth as the boat moves in hammocks, and they can read a book or read their Kindle. So there's quite a few different things that we have on board. So people, when they're not working, they can sort of relax and take it easy. Let's look at a couple more pictures of the boat. Here's another one. This is the bridge. So this is where the captain works. So the captain works up on the bridge, and this is where he drives the boat. So what don't you see in this picture?
Liam, Ken, what don't you see?
I don't see a steering wheel.
Yeah, exactly right. So where's the steering wheel? How does the captain drive the boat? So with the modern research vessels and modern boats, it's all done by joysticks. So it's probably hard to see, but right in the center, there are the joysticks that the captain uses. And they drive the boat basically with two fingers. And they can go forward, they can go backwards, they can spin it back and forth, they can go sideways. And all that's done just with a couple fingers on the joystick. That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, we've got a question from some of the YouTubers. So from who do we have? Jocelyn Wilder. Who's that? Is anybody? Oh, Jocelyn Wilder. Yeah. So is that your mom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I say, hi, Mom.
So she had a question about the cabins. So we talked about the cabins a little bit, about the bunks, and someone in the audience asked about toothbrush and toothpaste. So we have bathrooms on board as well in the cabins, but these we have to share. So you saw that cabin with the 3 bunks. They share a bathroom with another cabin with 3 bunks as well. So everybody has to share the bathroom, and you have to knock. And when you're done with it, you have to clean up after yourself because you have 6 people that share one bathroom. So there's a lot of activity on board, the boat. Just like in the school, you have a public bathroom as well that everybody can use. We also have them on board the boat. So that's how that works. Yeah.
Great question.
Okay. So a couple more questions, Ms. Baylor?
Yeah, who's got another question? And you can tell us how big the ship is here in a minute. Let's go with Jules. Scored a strike.
Where do you go if there's emergency?
Oh, what a fantastic question. Look what I already had. Look what I already had ready. So on board, we also have a hospital. So we have a small hospital on board. So we're offshore, or we're at sea 40 days a year. And sometimes we're a long ways away from shore. So sometimes we can be 5, 6, 7 days away from any help on shore. So we have our own hospital on board, and the captain, if anybody's sick or not feeling well, they can go to the captain of the hospital, and they can call a doctor to be able to help out and assist of any medical problems that we have. So here's another picture of the same hospital. So we have a nice table, we have oxygen, we have different medicine, we have crutches you can see, we have a special bed they use, we have gurneys that if we need to move somebody. So we have a lot of stuff on board just in case something happens like that. Wow, that's a good question.
Red.
Do the waves put you to sleep?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, so everybody's a little bit different. So some people, when they come offshore, they really feel the effects of the waves. They get seasickness. Now, some people get seasick, some people don't. Really, it just comes down to a matter of luck. And some people, it takes a lot of, like big waves to get sick. And other people, it's just a little bit of the movement of the boat and they don't feel too well. So it really comes down to luck. Now, to answer your question, personally, I like when the boat moves a little bit. Then you can sort of feel it when you're sleeping or in your chair. But when the boat's moving a lot, it's very hard to sleep. So in that video that we watched, when the waves were splashing on deck, here's another picture. So look at all that water come on board on board the boat. So when it's like that, the boat's moving a lot, and when you're laying in bed, you actually rock back and forth, and it's hard to sleep like that. Yeah, that's a good question.
Another question. Landon, the birthday boy. Go ahead, Landon.
What was the biggest wave you came into?
Yeah, so that's a good question because we're going to talk about weather. So when we're working, we always want to watch the weather. Just like when you guys are at home, it's winter, there's a storm coming. You want to know if school's going to be closed, right? Does everybody watch the weather? Or your parents do, and you listen to see if school's closed.
Yes.
So we do the same thing out here, but we watch the weather to see when it's safe, if we can collect the scientific data that we want. So in part of that, we look at the speed of the wind, and we also look at the wave height. So we use something called windy.com. Let me show you what that looks like.
Pretty cool website.
So let's have a look at this. So you can see the United States, right? This is the United States here. So let's go down to where we're working right now. So remember, we were down in South Mexico. So we're down here. So right now, the wave height is only 1 meter. So it's about 3 feet. So that's not very much at all. So let's look at the wind speed. How fast is the wind blow? So right now it's 7 knots. That's a very light breeze. If you walked outside, you know, the tree, maybe you'd see the leaves move a little bit, but not very much. It's very light. So right now it's very good to work here. But let's come up here. So this is the United States. We're going to go back. We're going to go back to the Atlantic Ocean. So let's look to see what this looks like. So the wind speed is 46 knots. That's pretty fast. But let's look at the waves. Oh my, 10 meters, 11 meters. So that's about 30 to 40 feet. Well, not 40, about 30 feet of waves. So that's huge. So think maybe the length of a school bus. So maybe a school bus and a half. That's how big those waves are. So it's pretty big.
Taller than our
Oh yeah, definitely taller than a school. So me personally, I've probably seen 4 meter waves when we're out working. Any more than that, we don't want to be out offshore when it's like that.
Another question, Waylon. Who got it? Get it over there, Waylon. Don't hit my candle like I did. Okay.
What would you do if the ship was sinking?
Wow, you guys are fantastic questions. So I already have the picture already ready. So when you start school at the beginning of the year, you have your drills, right? You have your fire drill, you have a tornado drill. So we do the same thing on board the research boat. So when a new science team comes on board, we have different drills to make sure everybody understands what they need to do in case of an emergency. And one of those emergencies is an abandoned ship. So we have a fire drill, we have a man overboard drill, we have a pirate drill, and we have an abandoned ship drill. So what happens in an abandoned ship? So an abandoned ship, first off, during the drill anyways, we go up to our muster area. That's where we all meet, just like you guys do at school. You all go to one area, and we listen to the captain. So we put our life jackets on, and we listen to the captain give some training on what we need to do with our life jackets. And another thing that we put on is called an immersion suit. So this immersion suit is like a big red thick suit that if we have to go into the water, it keeps us warm when we're in the water. So everybody needs to try that on because it's very difficult to put on. The gloves, so basically when you get it on, you can barely move, but it's going to keep you warm. So this is one of the things they try on their first couple of days on board the boat.
Another question. That opened up some questions when you mentioned some things. Lucas, you got it. Oh. 2 seconds and
What would you do during a pirate drill?
yeah, I knew that one was coming.
So in some places of the world, there are still pirates, and it's a concern that we have to when we travel at different places of the world, we have to monitor the activity, and we have to see what the risk level is. So we have a whole process that goes into place to understand how safe it's going to be for the vessel to go in certain areas. And one of those things that we do is a pirate drill. Now, what does that mean? Basically, a pirate drill is we have an understanding. So let's say, for example, the captain is up on the bridge driving the boat, and he sees an unidentified boat that's coming towards us very fast. And we're in one of these areas of the world where there's a potential for pirate activity. So what the captain will do is he'll sound the alarm. And so the alarm will go off, and he'll say, pirate, pirate, pirate. This is a pirate warning. And what the crew will do is we all have different assignments. So the scientist and my group, we go all the way down in the lowest level of the boat where all of our computer equipment's at. Let me show you that picture here. Here it is. So this is called the main lab. So you see all these different computer screens down here?
Yeah.
So this is at the bottom of the boat. So we'll all get down here. And then the crew, they'll start to lock the doors all the way down. So we have sort of a different levels of defense as we go all the way down. And the captain will then call out a mayday, 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 mayday. You know, we have pirate activity. And the idea is other boats will come to help. But because the team, the scientists and the crew are locked down inside the boat, the pirates really can't do anything because they want to come on board. They want to steal some computers. They want to steal some valuables and go away. But if they can't do that, they'll just go away and not bother you. That's sort of how a pirate drill works. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Another question. Alan. Lucas. Lucas.
Have a real problem ever happened?
Has a real problem ever happened?
So no, so in the world, yes, but on this boat, no. So we have a lot of different safety procedures that we have in place in checklists, and we have a lot of maintenance. You know how, for example, your mom and dad's car, maybe sometimes they have to take it to get an oil change. They have to do routine maintenance on their car to make sure that it's working okay. So we do the same thing offshore on board the boat. We have routine maintenance that we do to make sure that everything is running correctly. And then we have drills in place that make sure that if something does happen, that we're able to sort of limit the amount of exposure we have. And that's called prevention and mitigation. And those two things make sure that we work in a safe environment.
Nice. Another question was not asked one yet. Carter. Come to the front of the room. Good catch, Kens. Kick that for kickball.
How big are, how thick are the doors?
Oh, that'll be.
So we have two different types of doors. We have the outside doors, which are waterproof doors. I don't have a picture. We have waterproof doors, and they're metal doors. They're big, thick, heavy doors. It takes two hands, and you close it. And they have, you know how what's your door in the classroom look? Does it have a knob? Does it have a push bar? How does it work?
It has a knob.
Just has like a handle.
A handle? Yeah. So we have something offshore that are called dogs. Isn't that a funny name? DOGS, dogs. So once we close this big metal door and we have a wheel that we turn and it seals the door shut. And then we have these small handles, these small metal handles that we then close to tighten the door to make it waterproof. That way, you know, if you remember that video, you saw all that water come on board the boat. Well, imagine if all that water hit your door in the classroom, that water would come through the door, right? So these big metal doors, it seals it so tight that no water can come in. It makes it waterproof. But on the inside of the vessel, on the inside of the boat, for example, to your cabin, then we have normal doors, just like in your classroom there.
Let's go, Rhodey.
Oh, that was a good.
Voting well for our kickball sign. Good catch.
Has a volcano ever erupted under the ocean?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So there are a lot of volcanoes under the ocean. So let's have a look here. Let me stop sharing.
Next. That's all we need to sign.
So some of the data that we're collecting now is called seismic data, and that makes, remember I told you that makes an image of the rocks below the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Does everybody remember that? The cake, the layers of the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see here. So you see these three bumps right here. Does everybody see those?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are actually volcanoes under the ocean that are below us right now. And those look like, remember I mentioned the layers of the cake.
Yep.
So this image that we see, these three bumps are those three volcanoes that we just looked at. So here's the video. Let's watch this video. So this was last summer. We were by Iceland, and we actually found a volcano for the first time. Let's watch the picture.
That don't impress me much. Yeah. I never knew a guy who carried a mirror in his pocket and a comb up his sleeve, just in case. And all that extra hotel in your hair ought to lock it, 'cause heaven forbid it should fall out of place. Oh, you think you're special? Oh, you think you're something else? Okay, so you're Brad Pitt. That don't impress me much.
Yeah. So that was a volcano that was underneath the boat. So let me talk about another activity, and then we can go to more questions. So on board, we also have biologists. I mentioned them already. So we have many different groups of people that come offshore and work, and one of those are biologists. And they look for whales and dolphins and seabirds and turtles to make sure that when we're working in a certain area, we don't harm any animals when we're trying to collect our science data. So if you remember when we took a tour around the boat, the drone tour, that big tower in the center, so that's where they work. And they have binoculars that they look for different animals. So let's look at some of the animals that we've seen this trip. So here we go. Here's a dolphin that we just saw a couple days ago. It's underwater here. So here's a sea turtle. We just saw it yesterday. Yep. Let's see. I think we have a picture of a dolphin jumping. Where's that dolphin at? Oh, here it is. Here's a picture of a dolphin jumping.
Beautiful.
And then sometimes when we're working in different places of the world, we can go on shore and see some animals on shore. We can go scuba diving and see other animals. So here, let's watch this video. This video was from the Galapagos Islands. That's in the Pacific down by the equator. You probably see some of the animals. You probably recognize some.
I'll get there one day.
Oh,
What type though?
Black tip.
Black tip. Nice.
We have a black tip shark. Yep.
You sure?
So what's this here? What about this?
Turtle.
Yeah, so we were down swimming with the sea turtles. They're amazing. They're so big.
My favorite.
Oh, some tortoises. Oh, what about this guy? Is he the fastest? He's got number one.
Wait, no, I
Number
don't.
one in our heart. That's a blue-footed booby.
Oh yeah. I always wanted to see that.
Look at these guys.
There's a couple locals.
Try.
Yeah, here's some lava tubes, and we're back to the turtle.
That's a sea
So-
turtle.
Yeah, that's a sea turtle, exactly. So those are some of the animals that we see offshore. Sometimes we see big whales, humpback whales, and minke whales. Sometimes we see sharks. So all different sorts of wildlife we see when we're trying to collect this scientific data that we're doing.
Very.
Let's look at a couple other operations that we do, and then we'll take some more questions. What do you think, Ms. Bahlau?
Yes, sir.
So let's have a look. Let's go back to this picture here. So here's some videos. This is some of the stuff that we do off here.
Yeah.
So
Like
what,
a ice signature.
so what we were doing there at the back of the ship, if you remember, that's the stern. We were deploying a big buoy that goes in the water, and it has our air guns that makes the noise that travels all the way down to the bottom, reflects off the seafloor, and then comes all the way back up. And then when we record that noise, and just like a bat, you know how a bat, when it flies, it makes an echo, and it listens for the echo, and then it can make an image of the trees and the buildings. Does everybody know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do the same. So this is that. So did everybody see, so at first we're on the surface of the water. Did everybody see that black float with the yellow? So that's that thing that went off the back. And then we went below the water, and you could see the ropes hanging down. And all the way down there at the bottom, that was our source, our air source. And you saw right at the end, you saw them shoot and the bubbles come up. Did everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that noise goes all the way down to the bottom, just like a bat. It makes a noise, it reflects off the bottom, and then it comes back, and we measure it, and we can make that image that we saw earlier with the 3 volcanoes. So let's look at one more deployment, and then we'll take questions. So here's another one.
I've been the one. You have been the one for me. Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my friend. You have been the one. You have been the one for me.
So that's an example of something that we deploy off the side. Remember, deploy is we put something into the water, and we deploy that instrument, and it floats all the way down to the bottom. And sometimes the water depth is so deep, it takes an hour to 2 hours just to get down to the bottom. Yeah. Okay, Miss Bale, let's do some questions.
All right. Any question? Anyone who hasn't gone yet? All right. Go to Jack. Hey, Dick has gone. Everyone's gone. Good.
Have you ever experienced a hurricane?
Ooh.
So we use, if you remember, we looked at the weather software, windy.com. So we use that to monitor the weather. So every day I check the weather, and we see if there's any hurricanes coming or any bad weather coming. And then we're able to move our operations out of the way so we don't get into that bad weather. And sometimes we have to pick up all the gear and we have to run away from it. So we go at full speed in the opposite direction to get out of the hurricane when it comes through. So what do you think full speed is? How fast do you think our boat can go?
Let's go. Wait a minute, because you're right there.
About like 150 to like 100 miles per hour.
That's pretty fast. That's pretty fast. Nope, it's a little bit slower. So actually, you won't believe it, but we only go 10 miles an hour. That's pretty slow. Yeah, so 10 miles an hour. But remember, the boat is going 24 hours a day. So in one day, we can go 240 miles. So if a big storm is coming in and we watch the weather and we know that it's going to come in, we can then move out of the way as it passes us, and then we come back and we start working again.
Nice. Let's go, Jules.
You accidentally thought you were about to be attacked.
You cut it in and out. Did you hear?
No. What was the
One more
question?
time. Hold it steady.
Have you accidentally thought you were about to be attacked by pirates?
No, that's a good question. No, we haven't thought that because the way that we monitor for that type of activity is very good. So we have different type of reporting. So once we go into an area with a known pirate sort of activity, we get updates sort of from different groups of people to let us know what that activity level is. Is it high? Is it medium? Is it low? And then once we're in that area, the people up on the bridge are watching all the time. And of course, we have different instrumentation on the bridge. And one of those is a radar. So just like you've probably seen in the movies of planes, they have a radar. You know, you have that screen where the line goes around and like boop, 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 and you can see different things. So we have something like that on board the boat as well, where the captain up there can see many miles away. They can see what's coming. So yeah.
Can I go off of Julia's question now? I know it wasn't asked last time. Have you guys ever had to be like a rescue ship for someone? Like you guys got a mayday or anything like that?
Yeah. So on board the boat, so up on the bridge, they always listen to channel 16. And if anybody has an emergency, they'll go on to channel 16 and they'll say mayday, 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 my boat is sinking. Or there's different levels of an emergency at sea. Mayday is the highest. So last year, actually, when we were working by Iceland, we got a radio call and a sailboat was running out of fuel and they needed assistance. So we weren't too far away because when you're at sea, everybody tries to help everybody. Because if we passed them, it could take a couple days maybe before someone was around them to help. So we went over and gave them some fuel to help them out.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Let's go, Suze.
What inspired you to be on the boat and leave your family?
A good question.
Yeah. So just like you guys in school, so you guys probably have your favorite subject. Some people like math, some people like science, English, maybe social studies or history. Whose favorite subject is math? Who likes math? Yeah. So when I was in school, I like science. I like looking at maps and understanding why a river flows there. I like going outside and looking at the different type of rocks. So when I was your age, I like those different type of things. I, of course, never knew what I wanted to do when I grew up. I didn't know I wanted to work on a research boat, but I knew that I liked that. I like science. I like geography, maps, and I had curiosity in that area. So when I went to junior high and when I went to high school, I studied those type of things because it was what I liked. And then when I went to college, I studied it a little bit more. I worked hard. And then because those were my interests when I was your age, I was able to eventually find my way on board a research boat doing the things that I like. So what I would say, like for you guys, for your age, of course, you probably don't know what you want to do growing up, but you know what interests you in school. If you like math, study math, be curious, work hard at school. And then when you sort of get older and you have to make those choices, it's going to be a little bit clearer, sort of what you want to do.
All right. Time for a couple more questions, and we gotta get our picture with Chief. Let's go, Addie.
How close were those volcanoes to the top of the ocean?
So let's look. So we're looking at the volcanoes that are under us right now. So I don't know if you can see here on the bottom, I have some data that we can look at. And this one right here is the sea depth. Maybe you can't see it, but it's the sea depth. So this one, so it's at 2,600 meters deep. This one's at 2,300 meters deep. And this one's at 2,600 meters deep. So what's a meter? So meters about 3 feet. So let's have a look here. So 2,600 times 3. So it's 7,800 feet deep. That's pretty deep. How many feet are in a mile? Does anybody remember?
Is that Jack? 5,208 coming in?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's over a mile deep right here below us right now. That's pretty deep, isn't it? But what's another example of a volcano that's not below the ocean? Can someone name it?
Christy? Volcano not below the ocean? Like the famous one?
Well, yeah, like a volcano that started below the ocean and then it grew and grew and grew and it became above the water line and now you can see it. What would be an example?
Can you give him a hint?
So we have 50 states, right?
Okay, that's
So what's-
enough. He said states. Volcano above the ocean. It's one of the states. What is it? Someone said it. No. Hawaii.
Yeah, so we have Hawaii here. So here, these were volcanoes that started very small, just like what we see down here. They started very small, but they grew, they kept growing, and they went above the water line, and now we can see them. Now, some of these back here, this is Hawaii, but some of these back here are the older volcanoes that are no longer above the water line. And then down here, remember I mentioned the Galapagos Islands? These are more volcanoes down here. These are more volcanoes that have came to the surface of the water.
Nice. One more question, Piggy. Oh, behind you.
How pretty is the view of the sunrise?
It's a good question. So let's see. You tell me. What do you think?
Share some
Hold on.
sunrise pics
You think that's pretty nice?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the sunrises and sunsets are really nice. And some people talk about it like it's a myth, but it's true because I've seen it. Sometimes when the sun sets, you see a little green flash right as the sun sets, and that flash is pretty special. Not many people have seen it. And when we're up north, sometimes you can see the northern lights. You know, they'll flash above the boat. So, you know, working at sea is pretty neat. You see a lot of different things.
All right. Well, we gotta bring it to them, but we gotta get a picture with Chief Officer. So, well, before you move, you can't block the camera. He's got to get ready. There he's, fixing his hair. Don't block the camera, but it's got to be tight. So Tolly's here, Shorty's, but it's got to come all the way out. Can't be way out there because you're going to be out of the camera. Just get these chairs. Oh. All right, so he's going to throw some waves in the bag. No, pun intended. Nobody? Waves in the bag.
I don't get it. Oh, I get it. How do you not?
Waves on the way. I thought it was Larry. Isaac, Andrew, back up so Rainy can get him right in next to Risky. Okay, hold on. We're almost there. I should get better in Michael's class. Back in for me, Rainy, a little bit more. Right there. Brody, come up a little bit. Andrew, go behind him a little bit. Ray, go in front of Brody, and Isaac, tuck in because you're out of frame. And then same thing, Rain. I need you to back in. Come up towards me. And then back in. Like come up towards me more. Yep. And then back in towards Risky. Yeah. Back it on in, girl. Work it. Work it. Keep going. Keep going. No move. Keep going a little bit more. A little bit more. A little bit more. And turn it tight. There, we got her. All right. Smiles just at first. 3, 2, 1. Isaac, try to turn on the light. See if it's a little bit better. Because I don't want to like lose them on a frame. But all right, let's see it. Oh, that actually works better. All right, give it back in there. Tight. Smiles. 3, 2, 1. Then a wave. Then a wave. Or throw them up. Deuces. 3, 2, 1. And the video say, oh, I got to zoom out. Batten down the hatches. That means it's rough seas. You got to lock it all down. In 3, 2, 1.
Batten down the hatches.
All right, got it. What do you guys say to Chief Officer?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Bye bye. Bye bye.